Now is your time to flex.
What up, everybody, and welcome back to the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. I'm your host, B. Jones, and I'd like to thank everybody for listening with us today. I am joined by a few of the Fledge mates. We have Art, the CMO.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is a pleasure to be in your ears, in your home, your car, your cubicles, or your office.
There it is. We're also joined by El Freshidente himself, DJ Barry B. Fresh. What's happening?
Greetings and salutations from the realm of freshness. Always a pleasure to be with my brothers.
Always a pleasure to introduce this guy. He comes with something new every time. I love it. And of course, last but not least, we got our prolific orator, Carol. What's happening, bro?
Okay, so I missed the memo of the greetings, and we need to go all the way back to the beginning because I need to go first before these guys because they're bringing all this dynamic
Absolutely
stuff
not.
to the doggone thing. And here I am. You know what? I'm gonna get a trumpet player to come out on my intro for the next podcast.
We're gonna take some polls. We want to know from our listeners, hey, what should Carol have as his introductory music or something in the background? We're gonna liven him up. We're gonna get him some Undertaker wrestling music or something. Who's your favorite wrestler, Carol?
Oh man,
Papa Shango.
JYD.
Who?
Junkyard Dog.
Wow.
That's up.
So that's the age difference, if y'all didn't notice, because I have no idea who that is.
Okay, if I had to give you somebody more modern, then I would go with The Rock.
Okay, definitely know The Rock. For me, it's always been
sir.
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn
So you know
Michaels.
Shawn Michaels. You don't know
Hey,
Junkyard
man.
Dog.
I mean, I was an avid wrestling fan, but
Leave
I
the
don't
Heartbreak Kid
remember.
alone.
Yeah, exactly. See Art with me, the Heartbreak Kid, sweet chin music, baby, all day.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm a more of a Bruce Beefcake kind of guy. I want to go out there and just go crazy, but it's good stuff though.
Brett doesn't know who Brutus the Barber Beefcake is.
Oh
no
man, Jake the Snake.
clue.
Come
Jake the
on.
Snake. I was low key
Superfly
scared of
Snuka.
Jake the Snake as a youth,
The
man.
Iron Chief.
Jimmy Superfly Snooker.
Oh, you know
Who?
we going.
Wow.
What?
Oh, you don't know Superfly? Oh,
Come on.
Jimmy, come on, you gotta know Jimmy.
Superfly Snooker was
You gotta know who that is, man.
I'm gonna throw a name at you. You probably don't think about, but what about Zeus?
What? Nobody
I don't
nobody
know.
wants to talk
Yeah,
about
Man, they
Debo.
coming with all
Yes.
these third tier
Nobody wants to talk
wrestlers,
about
man.
Debo.
Yes,
Yes,
Debo.
Debo.
Debo when he came out in the Hulkamania movie.
right.
Debo used to
Debo
wrestle, man.
was wrestling?
Yup.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had no
Hey, y'all
idea.
remember? It smells like Dookie. Dude,
Blew your whole mind.
I had no idea Debo was a wrestler. Shout out to Debo, man.
oh man, him and the Hulk, man, they put out a movie. It was all that.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw the movie theater. To tell you that, I actually sat in the seat and saw
Oh,
these
yeah.
movies.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Easy.
no. Mm-mm.
Hey
Ain't
Carol,
wasting
how was the weekend, man?
Which weekend? This weekend?
This weekend, I heard you had a pretty good surgery or whatnot. How was that LASIK?
Yeah, man. After 33 years, man, I finally can wake up in the middle of the night and not reach for glasses or contacts. So it's an amazing process, man. You go from take your glasses off, get up under this laser to the lights go out like in one eye at a time. It just goes black, and it's like, oh, this is what Stevie sees. And then next thing you know, you come back. What's wrong, man? What Stevie sees, man. Luckily, I didn't try to play instruments at that time. Yeah, man. So it came back on, and it was amazing. Like once they sat me up, like I could see the numbers on the clock, and I could tell you that when I got in there and took my glasses off, I couldn't see the numbers on the clock. So, but everything went well. Just in the recovery phase, but I can tell you, I can see everything. So,
Do you feel
great.
like they tapped into your supernatural power?
Exactly.
I'm waiting for that to develop, and I don't know what the superpower will be, but hopefully it'll awaken. You know, hopefully it won't take something extreme. You know, most people find it in like a dire situation. I hope mine just happens while I'm just, you know, going through the drive-through at Chick-fil-A or something.
Nice.
They won't.
House of Chick-fil-A. Please send any chicken you want our way. No doubt.
Nice, man. Nice. How about you, Fresh? You had a good weekend?
Always have a great weekend. My baby girl had a culture day at school, and so we got to go there. I got to make sausage and potatoes. Shouts to my Russian brothers and sisters out there We had the opportunity. Yeah, I made kielbasa and potatoes because they eat sausage and potatoes in Russia, and I wanted to make sure it was kielbasa. I think kielbasa is a mixture. I'm pretty sure. Shouts to Johnsonville. They made that slamming sausage, but we cooked it. It was all that, and yeah, everybody loved it. Great culture day. We got to see all around the world, from China and Jamaica and Barbados and just all kinds of cool places. A lot of food, a lot of fun, a lot of family. It was great.
Hey Art, I'm gonna need you to reach out to Johnsonville and see if they want to be a sponsor.
Yeah, because he definitely just gave him the nice
We got Johnsonville, we got Chick-fil-A. I believe me, making phone calls right after this.
Nice.
Going down, CMO.
How about your weekend, Art? What's going on, man? How's it fam?
Man, fam is good. Lil Nam is sick right now, so he's gotten me sick. And if you all know, the worst cold you can catch is from a baby, because your immune system cannot handle what they've given you. So I pardon my voice this week. It is a little dark, deep, and raspy as normal. But yeah, it was a long weekend. I feel like I've been knocked off for like 4 days, even though it's only been 1.5, probably 2. So it's getting better, but drinking my ginger tea and drinking all of my my honey and all kinds of things to make sure that it's all good. But I gotta keep going, man. Keep working, but it'll be better.
I just want you to know, man, that is your regular voice that we're hearing today.
Right, he sounds no different.
I feel like super, super deep right now. But
okay.
My testosterone's coming out a little bit stronger today.
Well, I'm happy that you were able to join us today on the 13th floor, man. Even being under the weather.
Oh, always. Never stops. You do what you do. When it's fun, you do it no matter what.
Easy.
My man's.
So before we get into the meat of the show today, we got a couple of FSAs, that would be Fledgeology Service Announcements. Just some housekeeping stuff that we want to touch on. This is what our fourth podcast going, and we've gotten some good feedback, but it's some things that we want to touch on for our listeners so they have a better understanding of what we're trying to accomplish with the 13th floor. And I want to outline the fact that the last couple of shows that we've done have been a little bit more traditional in setting. We've given you step 1, step 2, or do this first, and then next you want to look at this. But today it'll be our first leap into more of the Fledgeology way of things. We're going to be a lot more organic. It's going to be a lot more discussion oriented. And one of the things that we want you to pull out of that going forward is that we're here to plant seeds more so than give you a blueprint. And Carol will expound on that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Brett said, the format that you've seen in these first episodes was kind of just the introduction to Fledgeology, to the 13th floor. So what we really want you guys to understand is that we're just here to break your internal voice. Everybody has an internal voice that talks to you, and we're just here to interrupt that voice for a second and give you something that might take you down a different path than what you would normally travel or what you would normally fly. So we give you breadcrumbs, just like Hansel and Gretel. We're dropping breadcrumbs so that you can find your way to the path to your best self. We're not here to give you the blueprint because, listen, what works for me may not work for you 100%.
Exactly.
And that's something that you have to be mindful of. And I don't encourage you to go out there and do 100% what anybody says. You have got to listen and figure out what's going to be best for you. How are you going to be optimally? And then there's a couple things that you're just going to listen to as guides that may help you make that right decision. So that's all we're here for. We've gotten, feedback that, hey, you guys don't get into things too deep. I guarantee you, when you come back in 2017, we're going to start hitting you with the depth and the range and the width of all types of subject matter. And we're going to give you the things that are really going to hammer it home. Right now, these are just things to get you thinking before 2017 gets here so that you can prepare your mind for what's coming next and you can prepare yourself to reach your best self.
Right. It's real surface level at this point. We want to touch on a lot of things just so that you are introduced to the company and everything that we're about. But best believe that a lot of the nuggets that we've been dropping, that you have been, we've been getting the feedback or you've been wanting more of, it's definitely in the works. So just be patient, continue to listen, and leap with us, grow with us, and fly with us.
Yeah, we're moving from the kiddie pool to the diving pool. And for those of you that have ever dove, you know that it's at least 10 feet deep in the diving pool, if not deeper. So gave you a chance to get warmed up. The best is yet to come. Just hang in there.
Right. So now we on
also.
Oh, go ahead, bro.
No, I just wanted to go ahead and as you're listening to the previous podcast and this one itself, go ahead back and hit subscribe to us so you can know when the next one's coming out, our next new hit. Leave us comments, leave us notes, give us feedback, give us your questions so that we can, particularly hopefully answer those questions on during the podcast and kind of shout you out if you're there. So we look forward to all feedback, all questions. Yeah.
Awesome. So continuing with the series, we've been breaking down fledgeology. We started with the introduction, and then we went into the mantra, leap, grow, fly. So we've been breaking down leap. We did grow last podcast, and now we're moving into fly. But before we jump into fly, we want to continue to, or just point out a few pieces that we may not have hit on in grow. And one of those things is being stuck in the grow phase. I think that's very important to hit on because, naturally, when you're making the leap, you're wanting to practice, but you just feel like for whatever reason or for a lot of different reasons that you can't get out of that growing phase. I think one thing that, cripples a person that's stuck in the growth phase would be analysis paralysis. You needing so much information or taking so much information and trying to data collect and ultimately not making a decision based off of the things that you're bringing in. I want to hit on Fresh and see how he feels about the analysis paralysis situation as well. And then we'll just go around the room.
Of course, many people get overwhelmed in their, growth in their search to become more. And when you're seeking all this knowledge and you're taking in things and you're analyzing, there can always come that point where you are stuck and you're trying to decide, I want to make sure that next move is, the next best move. But you have to also be able to understand life is in your growth. It's about learning. Even if your next move was not the 100% best move, the learning experience that you gain from it is always the most valuable thing that you could take from it. All of us in the room has had opportunities not go the way that we expected, but the lessons that we've learned from them have helped us propel our success for the future.
I'm gonna tie it in and kind of liken it to working out. You're in that phase where you go through, you read all these books, you subscribe to Men's Fitness, you subscribe to blah blah, the workout magazine, and you're reading it all. Then you go into the gym and you start working out, and you work out every day, 5 days a week. You're there, you're 45 minutes, an hour. You start seeing results, but then all of a sudden you just stop. So instead of you going on, you just kind of work the same muscles, and then you just wind up slowing down because you're not seeing any progression, you're not seeing any change, and you get paralyzed in the fact that you can't go any further. You say, the 5 pounds, 10 pounds where you get stuck. So it's just like we're all in the same place. We just kind of always, you get stuck in the process and you move, and it's now it's time to go back and see what you can do and how you can research to get more and get better, and do different exercises, different mindsets to grow and increase yourself.
So you guys said the reins are off. Everything is fair game?
Fair game, baby. Get it.
Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of being stuck in the grow phase. So who saw the Bernard Hopkins fight last night?
Ooh,
Bernard Hopkins still fighting? What?
You saw it?
Whoa.
So
yeah, Bernard Hopkins is still fighting?
That's right. The executioner Bernard Hopkins is still fighting.
Wow.
Okay. So Bernard Hopkins has been trying to go after being the best fighter of all time.
Right.
And he has been trying to grow himself to that. So I'm pretty sure he's over 50 years old.
Exactly.
Well, let's just say Bernard Hopkins, the executioner, got executed last night. This man got knocked out, fell all out the ring into the crowd. And that is an example of what happens when you are stuck in the growth phase. Because Bernard Hopkins should have hung it up a long time ago. He's not going to be the greatest of all time. But because he was so focused on, I'm going to keep trying to get better, he messed around, and now, look, you're definitely not getting better. You're out, you're done. And that's just a perfect example of what happens. Most people get stuck in collecting information trying to show that they are going to be the best at something. And it doesn't work out because you come to find out that all this information that you collected, once you do try to apply it at the point that you think you're ready, you find out that you've got the wrong information or that you don't enjoy doing what it is that you're trying to do. So that's just one of those things that, hey, it's very easy to get sidetracked and stuck collecting information, analysis paralysis. I'm just totally
So it doesn't matter back and forth and back. It all means the same thing at the end of the day.
Exactly. We haven't made up a word yet, but I'm sure we will. So don't get stuck in that phase. It is okay to apply what you have learned, and then you can always come back if you need to brush up on your information or learn a little bit more.
Right, man. And I think we talking about Bernard Hopkins, but you know, just that example, like, so I didn't even know he was still fighting, and I used to follow boxing a lot more than I do now, but Bernard Hopkins was one of my favorite boxers at one point in time. So why isn't he on the next level? Like, why hasn't he started flying at a different altitude? You know, I would not expect him to be that guy still in the ring at 50 years old. I would expect him to be, you know, running gyms, have his promotion companies, something similar to what Floyd Mayweather got going on right now, you know?
And that's what we always talk about is you know, you can't expect that your one success is just the one thing that you're going to do. Those who truly, you know, reach that peak understand and see that there are other mountains and other opportunities. Right. So being able to take what you've become successful at and use it to tap into other things that you can then be more successful at in other arenas that's growth, that's life, that's learning, that's what we're here for. And that's what Bernard Hopkins, his demise was, in a sense, was that he got stuck in that one area, just as Carol was saying. And when you're stuck there, instead of taking the opportunity to look at those other mountains and being so focused on, look at this peak that I'm on, it leads you to possibly have that fall.
Right.
Yeah, he was absolutely in his comfort zone. This is what I do. I box.
Exactly.
Talent's going to take you so far. So you can only go to a certain point with talent. After that talent runs out or, you know, gets surpassed, that's what you get. You get knocked out the ring. Right. That analogy to use from now on. We'll use that from now on. That'll be our thing to talk about as we move forward.
Yeah, you get knocked out the ring. You fall into the audience. Right. And as Ian said, I can't remember who said it, but there was a quote one time where somebody said sometimes you have to climb one mountain just to get a better view of the mountain next to it, to climb that
exactly.
one. So, yeah, hey, you had a great boxing career. Now, maybe you should have a good training career. Or maybe you should have a good promotion career now that you know how the business runs and whatnot. Who can you make better than what you were?
Right, man. Looking to give that next person the opportunity. And I think that might be where he fell off at, you know, and then not analyzing the situation correctly. So he was paralyzed in his analysis of thinking that I'm just going to be a great boxer. You know, he was unable to see the other areas that he could potentially be great in, or the other leaps that he could take. So definitely, wow, I can't, I'm still blown away that this man's still boxing. But
well, he's not now.
And then like now the memory of Bernard Hopkins is going to be this last fight. And I think Ian, he was telling me about it a little earlier, I guess, or talking about it, like his demise. So now, instead of him being that great boxer who fought for a very long time, had so many wins, knocked out such and such people, you're going to remember his latest, you know, not his greatest, his latest getting whatever happened in this boxing match. So, you know, don't be scared to change directions. Don't just sit here in this analysis paralysis. Don't get stuck in your comfort zone, because ultimately that became his demise.
Exactly. Don't let pride tarnish your legacy.
Very few people get out of their game when they need to get out. You see a lot more people that tend to run to the end, and then you look back and go, man, I should have stopped 4 or 5, 10 years ago. In every field you're in, I mean, it can be in your office, it can be in anything. But if you look back, and a lot of people, there are very few gyms that actually take the next step and move forward and challenge themselves and not use the same circle over and over again.
Yeah, and that gets back to what we talked about in Grow last week, of setting benchmarks. You have to set benchmarks for whether it be your personal life, your career. There has to be a point where you go back to evaluate how far you've come. Is there any further for you to go, or should I jump to a different track? And that's why we say you're always going to go back and forth. You're always going to come back to grow. So you're going to leap, you're going to grow, you're going to fly, but you may have to come back to grow. You may have to leap again, because you're going to max out what you're doing in one particular thing. And then you have to figure out, okay, is there another leap for me to take? And in that leap, am I going to experience more growth?
Perfect segue into what we have coming up next. We definitely, as he said, grow is in the middle for a reason. It's in the middle for a reason. It stretches across both leap and fly. As we jump in to fly, now that we've kind of wrapped up grow, one of the things we talked about was having tunnel vision, and not necessarily your eyesight tunnel vision, but your third eye. Carol made a reference to the third eye. But when you have that tunnel vision and things kind of jump into your line of sight, or things happen that kind of deviate or make you deviate from your intended path, identifying the causes of that is critical, because, if you have, say, the bad way of looking at tunnel vision, if you have it where you don't see these things coming, when they hit you and you can't even take the moment to analyze or look at the situation as where it came from and why it came, you're probably going to end up in a worse situation than you were beforehand.
Just like B-Hop, I'm sorry to bring it back to him, but as soon as this man hit the floor, as soon as he hit the floor, he gets up and starts telling everybody about how he was pushed out the ring, and how he had the guy tired and he pushed him out the ring, and he can't believe that they let him push him out the ring. No, B-Hop, you just got knocked out the ring. This guy hit you with a 3-piece combo. He had so much tunnel vision that he didn't even see these punches coming, and made up excuses on the spot to try to deny the fact that, he wasn't ready to bob and weave with what was coming. He had too much tunnel vision thinking about, winning that battle, instead of understanding and seeing that he needed to have that defense a lot tighter.
Right. So that jumps into one of your causes, that pride of whatever you're doing and your flight pattern. Like, you can't be so prideful, I believe, to not look at yourself and what you may have done to cause that, because ultimately this is your flight pattern. You're out there flying and doing what you do best. You are responsible for that. So your pride can get in the way of you accomplishing what you want to accomplish, just because you won't be able to identify the lesson to be learned when you may fly at a different height.
And we say pride, and a lot of people, they kind of quiver a little bit when you say pride, but I think it's a little bit of, hey, if I reach out for help, or if I tell somebody that I don't know how to do this or that, you feel like it's going to make you look inferior, like you're going to look incompetent. And that's not what it is. You have to be that aware that when you are in an area that's not your specialty, or that you're not that strong at yet. And it is okay to reach out to somebody else. If you look at taking an airplane or a flight, how many different people are involved with you having a successful flight? It's not just the pilot. It starts with the ground crew. They got to make sure and clear the grounds and make sure that there's nothing that's going to prohibit the airplane from being able to take off successfully or land successfully. There's other people that are in the flight tower that are directing traffic, that have to let you know when it's okay for you to land and when it's okay for you to take off. So you are going to have to go out there and find the resources and the checkpoints. And that's why we've encouraged you to surround yourselves with people that can help you along the way. Nobody does it by themselves. And if you think you are doing it by yourself, then I strongly suggest that you really reflect and look around you, because you're going to see that there are people out there that are helping you along the way. Even if they're not there permanently, they come in and out of your life at the right moments to help guide you along the way.
Well, you're cheating yourself. If you are going to be the person who assumes that you are so talented or so gifted that you can do it on your own, you're really cheating yourself, because there are so many different shortcuts that you can find through engaging and inquiring from other people who have stepped at least in the same arena that you're attempting to get your success in. The more that you're able to engage and, find out different ways and strategies to, achieve your success, it helps your growth and helps you actually maybe find other opportunities that you didn't even think or discover. A perfect example is my wife. She was a corporate America worker. She became engaged and decided to go to cosmetology school and thought that she wanted to be a makeup artist. But from going to cosmetology school, she found out about lashing and doing lashes for, females. From there, it grew into a whole business and an opportunity that she never knew before she started the process of going to cosmetology school. But now that is 4 or 5 years later, and she has, a successful business based off of something that she had no clue about just 5 years ago. So it's real, it's out there, and it's really about, as Brett said, not having such tunnel vision that you don't allow other, any type of distractions or, opportunities not still be seen or engaged with.
Right. So there you have the main internal cause, I believe, to your flight pattern being altered or you deviating from your course. But what about some of the external, causes, your family, your job, things that you encounter on an everyday basis? How do y'all feel about those?
Those are some of the ones that, take the hardest struggle to fight through. You got to really sit back and listen, and they're in your ear all the time. They're the ones calling you every day to see if, what's happening, or did this go well, or, you shouldn't do this because, your Uncle Johnny, did try to do something different and he didn't succeed, and now he's, sitting on your aunt's couch. Like those things, those similar failures, I think that happen can help you in the future, but you can't let those people weigh you down, because they say those that are closest to you are the ones that are going to bear the heaviest weight to your success. So sometimes you gotta just say, all right, I understand, I got it, thank you, and you continue on your path. And you can always reset. The good thing about being a human and being in this life is that you can always reset. If it doesn't go well, you can go back to something else and start anew. So don't let anyone hold you down. Don't let anyone, especially your family. They're the ones that they want the best for you, but they're also scared because they've learned their bubble and they learned what success is to them, and they've been pigeonholed throughout their lives, and they can't see anything beyond the 9 to 5.
And so one thing that I wanted to point out, we talked about it earlier, but that's a perfect example when you talked about reset, where you're flying and you have to reset. So you have to jump back to leap, to reanalyze, to be able to grow, to start flying again. I just wanted to point that out. Go ahead, Carol.
This goes back to what we were talking about last time about the tools in your toolbox. And one of the things you have to have as a very useful tool is selective hearing, because there are going to people that are going to ramble in your ear, and it's going to totally discourage you or lead you across the path that's not natural for you. And you do have to find the one that's natural for you. So you have to select what you're going to listen to, what you're actually going to put into your toolbox that we talked about last week. So that's going to help you get to where you want to go without altering what you would naturally do. Because the only way that it's going to be successful and truly for you is if you do what is naturally for you. You can't do what's natural for somebody else.
But before we get into that, another thing, since we're on the airplane references, how many people once they reach a certain level of success, they go ahead and put that autopilot on, because they've seen some level of success in what they're doing, and now they're just coasting because I did what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
Man.
Amazing. So for those of you that fly frequently, it's routine. The airplane takes off. We get to our cruising altitude. Now I'm going to take off the seatbelt sign, and you feel free to move around as you would like to. That's what people do. That's what we do with our lives. We get to a point where, I think I'm in smooth atmosphere, a smooth point of my life, and we take the seatbelt off and we just enjoy. We move around, we socialize, and that's it. And next thing you know, 50 years have gone by and you haven't reached your destination because you were enjoying that smooth area of the atmosphere, that smooth air. And if you think about it, the two most turbulent parts of flight are the takeoff and the landing.
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to be a little sadistic right now and kind of talk about the flight. So Kay was just talking about the takeoff and the landing being the most turbulent, and that is a proven fact, and everyone understands that. And my wife, for instance, is fearful of both those. The times of flying in the middle of the air, she's fine. But I fly pretty often. I'm coast to coast. My job takes me in the air a lot, and I've been through several flights. I've been through several turbulent airlines where the plane has dropped a couple thousand feet and readjusted back in the air. So now for me, seeing that drop or the small shake doesn't bother me, but because I've been through that struggle and I've seen that happen. When I look to my left and my right, when I'm on certain planes and this plane just shakes, you can see the fear of people not knowing what to do for a small drop. And I think that it's important that we never prepare for what's going to happen when it goes wrong. We always prepare, it's going to be great, everything's fine, and I'll react when it happens. But until you live through that struggle or live through that hard time, when it comes again, you'll know how to react to it. And that's what I think most people get stuck in.
Yeah, I tell my wife all the time. For instance, we're driving in the car the other day, and I take a turn a little faster than she would like, and she grabs the what I call the OS bars, on the side.
Jesus bar.
Exactly. It begins to let me know about my driving prowess, right? So I tell her all the time, in times of fear or in times of things going crazy, it's a lot better for you to be a lot calmer and try to absorb what's going on than it is to go crazy, start screaming and get all nuts. And it's the same thing in life. If you're going through and you get so razzled and crazy from that one little distraction, it's not going to allow you to truly grow the way and fly the way that you need to.
Right. The cooler head always prevails, right?
There you go.
Oh, they teach you that in any emergency response situation. That's what they teach you. They teach you the best thing you can do is to relax, to allow your brain to calculate what you should do. The moment that you panic and you start to get frantic, you're now distracting your brain from figuring out the best course of action.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you can't continue to fly on any type of upward flight path that way, because you're going to be so erratic and making decisions that are going to be detrimental to your flight pattern. So, don't go on autopilot just because you reach some level of success. Be able to take, that turbulence and react to it with a cool head. When you reach that success, the goal should be to fly higher, not just maintain or, cruise along. You want to fly higher.
Exactly. And sometimes you have to look at it as you may have to land in order to refuel so that you can go higher. And that goes back to the going back and forth. That landing is nothing but going back to the grow phase or going back to the leap phase, because sometimes you have to recharge. So we're not telling you that, hey, once you get in flight, that's it. If you come out of flight, you fail. That's not what we're saying at all. We're saying that at some point you have to realize that there are limitations to your current skill set, and you may have to land to refuel, then take off again, and that is perfectly fine.
Yeah, and it's necessary. Like, you have to refuel. You have to take that downtime. If you just go, I mean, we talked about it during Grow. If you just go, or think you have enough fuel to make it from here all the way around the world without refueling at least once, you're going to burn out. You're not going to see that level of success. So yes, that is definitely necessary. I actually want to go back to something Carol said earlier about selective hearing and figuring out what's natural for you. I think that's very critical, while you're in your flight pattern, because you have to be able to chart your own course. And to do that, you have to know what you're trying to do, and you want to do something that is natural. So while you're doing that, that selective hearing piece is important, as he pointed out, because you have a lot of different feedback. People are experts at stuff that they don't want to do, or experts at stuff that's in your arena. How are you gonna filter that? How are you gonna work through that and take what's necessary and filter out what's not?
Oh man, this is perfect for me, because you guys all know, well, I'm sure I told everybody my job, but the job I chose to go with, I really enjoyed, and I kind of went there all the time. But when I was making the decision to join the company, a lot of naysayers were like, why would you go there? They're a one-stop shop. They're a very small location. They're not going to do anything for you. But I saw bigger and better things. I saw it on a company aspect. I saw it on the global aspect. I saw what I can get out of it. And I saw my current job, and I was like, well, this isn't going to work. But if I listen to all those naysayers, I still be stuck in. Don't get me wrong, stuck in Miami is not what I want to be, because I love Miami, but I'd be stuck in the job that wound up going bankrupt and closing a year or two after I decided to leave. So that listening to those naysayers and those, this is not going to be for you, could want to be a detriment to you if you don't effectively hear what you want to hear out of them. And all the negativity allowed me to move forward to my career now, where I'm flourishing and I'm really enjoying what I do day to day.
I'm just going to keep running with the plane scenario. So there is a reason why once the plane takes off, they lock the door to the cabin, because not just anybody can talk to the pilot. Only people that have information that is critical have access to the pilot. And that is exactly how you have to run your life. You can only give certain people access. Everybody else could be a detriment to what it is that you're trying to do. So you almost have to go out there in life and have some access cards in your back pocket and give certain people access cards that they have access to you. That even goes for your cell phone. Some of you will be, you'll be in the middle of the best thought ever, the best vision for you, and then your phone rings and you answer it. And it's just somebody calling you to talk about what happened to Bernard Hopkins.
Nothing at all.
And whatever happened to Bernard Hopkins, who fell out and is in the crowd, how is that going to help you get back to where you need to be? It's not. So simple things like your cell phone. There are times when I put my cell phone on do not disturb, and there are only certain people that are in that access that can get through when they try to call me. Everybody else, it bounces. So that is something very important that we just hit on. And it goes back to the selective hearing, but it's also selective access. Who do you give access to you, and how does that help you on your path?
Okay, you're totally right when it comes to being able to shut people out or shut them off from your access. You got to give yourself the time, and taking it back to the office for yourself. I mean, most of us here on this call might work in the offices. You may have a supervisor that sometimes just tells you the wrong thing, and you have to do what's right, or your teammates, or working in teams. There's always that person on a team that just doesn't want to do anything, but they're quick to throw in the negative aspect of what's happening, or quick to throw in that's not going to work. Well, sometimes you got to shut those guys out, and it ties back into the whole fact that you got to chart your own course. You have to make sure that you are moving the path in the way that you need to go. Even you have to be a leader, and sometimes you're going to have to be a follower. You might have to be the one just listening to the group and not jumping in, but that's not take following as a bad thing. There are times where you need to follow. You need to be able to see what's happening around you, and then when you're ready to go, you can kick it in high gear and run straight past those followers and lead the group.
Right. So when you talk about charting your own course, you talk about leading and following. The following part is just as important, because those are you're going to pick up those things, those tools, those resources, that mentoring. You're going to pick up a lot of things as you're following. You're going to see things that work well. You're going to see things that may work not so well, and things that you can apply. So I think when charting your own course, that portion of it, the leading and following aspect that Art hit on, it's important, because you'll be able to make that chart that much better.
So I'm going to disagree with you for a little portion of that, Brett. I think the following piece happens in the fundamentals. You can absolutely follow somebody's pattern for the fundamentals of what it may be. So for a pilot, landing and takeoff, it doesn't matter what airport, it's the same. You got to look at the same instruments. You got to do the same things. You got to adjust the same levers. Now, once you're actually in flight, you can't fly the same path as somebody else, because now you're running the risk of a crash, or some unforeseen circumstance changes the conditions and will have to cause you to deviate from that. That's why the only time that you can really use autopilot is when you know conditions are clear. Because when conditions become unclear, or there's wind or there's a storm, that's when your true skill comes out. And it may be skill that only you possess that can get you through that. I don't know how many of you saw the movie Flight with Denzel Washington. It was a great movie.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
This man landed the plane upside down. That was based on true events. If he would have just tried to land that plane the conventional way that he had been trained to, it would have never worked. He had to do something that only his skill set allowed. And that's the same thing for you during your flight. There are going to be things that only your unique gift and skill set will allow you to help you maneuver through your flight and get you to your destination.
Right, and I think that points back to, you know, knowing what's natural for you. Definitely. So chart your own course, you know. Don't be a follower. I think when I was talking about following versus leading, I think that was just in the initial phase, when you're actually like in the planning phase, I would say, not when you're actually in the air, because yes, you don't want to run the risk of that crash. You also don't want to be caught in somebody else's tailwind, because if you're flying in the same pattern or flight path, as the next person, and they're in front of you, people are always going to see them first. So it's like being second to market on something. You know, when you're second to market, you don't have any advantage, and you may just be a follower of that person, or viewed as a follower and not doing anything unique because you're following in their exact path.
I'm gonna throw something out there to you, because I think that sometimes you do need to be behind someone's tailwind to be able to surpass them. I'm gonna go back to the analogy of Ricky Bobby.
NASCAR, baby.
You gotta be able to get behind someone's tailwind and speed past them. So you know that's gonna allow you.
We was talking about planes, man. Now y'all talking about race cars.
Yeah, hey man, listen, we all over the place. It's a good thing, because everyone's mindset is gonna come from a different angle. So I think that, you know, if you're in a plane and you're in a car, you know, the tailwind might be what you need to do in order to slide forward and to be able to jump and get that extra push in it. I mean, I'm a video gamer by nature, and I've had the ability to just sometimes see that happen and go and just boom right in front of that person, and that tailwind allows you to just slingshot right in front, and then you just take off from there. But there's going to be points in times where, you know, you may have to be behind that person who's really very strong at that talent and that thing, and your talent might not show yet. But then once you get to that next level, like Carol said, your talent shines, and you're the person now making the tailwind for someone else, and that's the important factor.
And it's just like we said before, you know, it's about being able to take, you know, those tidbits, those different pieces of information, those different strategies, those different opportunities from other, you know, people who have already sort of walked the path that you're looking to find success in, and then going ahead and using those gems to, as Art said, you know, help you propel yourself past them.
I could see that. Definitely using, I don't necessarily know if it would be a competitor or a mentor, but using their, I guess, position as a way to catapult yourself and taking away from that. I can see that as well.
Exactly. You can't get stuck there, but you can use it. I mean, it's all about the information you have and your tools you have to use. Don't get stuck behind that person and think that this is it. He's going to show me the way forever. You got to use that to your advantage. Like, everyone before you has given you the tools you need to jump to the next level. So don't get stuck there. So I think, Brett, what you were talking before was people get stuck behind that tailwind. They get stuck behind them. And we're saying, just, you know, use that to your advantage. You know, you see it there, take a chance and head around them.
Right. So I think the last thing that we'll hit on as we wrap up Fly is that it's really as simple as flapping your wings. You know, a baby bird gets out on the ledge, and then they take the leap, and then they just start flapping. Now, granted, they don't fly as far as, you know, their mother bird or their father bird, but they're flapping their wings and they're trying to get out there. Carol, you want to expound a little bit?
Yeah, so this goes back to the whole don't get stuck in the grow phase. At some point, you have to get out there and just jump and start flapping your wings to fly. A bird is not confident in the branch that it's on. It's confident in its ability to fly. So you have to have that same level of confidence and just know that at some point you are capable of flight. Now, you might not soar to the highest of experienced birds or experienced flyers, but there is a certain amount of altitude that you will have. And you have to be okay with that until you have reached the point where your growth takes you even higher. But you will not know how well you can fly until you have actually tried to do it. And that is the key here, is that we encourage you to leap. And you're going to grow as you experience flight. There are going to be things that you will learn to adjust to, whether it be the wind, the turbulence, the unaccounted for storms. We all have that in our life. That doesn't mean that you should not attempt to fly. If you are in fear of those things, then you're right. You will never reach your best self. You will never reach your dream. You will never reach your goal. You'll never reach the life that is best for you. But you have to get out there and fly. That is the only way that you're going to get to your destination.
And that just brings us back to one of our earlier points, man. You're going to fly at different altitudes, so just because you're flying at level 1 right now, that's okay. You're going to fly there for a little while. You're going to grow. You're going to practice. You're going to get good at it. And then you're going to level up to level 2 and eventually get to the top. If that's what your motivation and that's what your practice leads you to, if that's what your gift is telling you to. So, be focused on that. Understand that, you're going to fly here for a little while, but as you continue to practice and grow, leap, grow, practice, grow, fly some more, you'll get to a higher altitude.
You got to remember that leap, growing, and flying. Sometimes you're gonna try several things. You're gonna try to leap. You're gonna try to grow several things, and sometimes you gotta go backwards. And you gotta, again, I like to always say this: you have to reset, and you gotta know when you reach your capacity. You have to know when to say, okay, it's time to try something else. And it's time to try the next thing to see whatever it may be. But don't worry about getting stuck where you can't move forward. You can always grow. You can always move. You can always go to the next level. And your talent, the thing you find the easiest is the one thing you have to start and always go with. And then that will allow you to grow faster and higher.
And the longer that you wait, the longer that you're taking to really reach your best self. When you have those times of, kind of second guessing and thinking, man, is there something better out there? Is there something more I could be doing? Chances are there probably is. And so it's always in your best interest to at least, engage in those opportunities, seek them out and see if there are ways for you to live a better, more enriched life that you didn't even realize or discover as you were on your path.
Thank you guys, because you basically just brought it full circle. The general wrap up that I like to do at the end of the podcast, Fresh and Art kind of took care of, but just to hit on a few more points, we started with the analysis paralysis, like Fresh just said, make a decision. Don't wait too long or try to gather too much information before you actually start flying. Make a decision, understand the internal and external causes of your turbulence once you get on your flight pattern, and don't get comfortable. Just because you see some success, don't jump right back in or create a new comfort zone. Rather, don't get comfortable. Continue to push, continue to thrive, so that way, you'll fly at higher altitudes instead of maintaining a regular course or just stagnant flight pattern. And in all of that, have some selective hearing, cut yourself off from the world in a way that allows you to grow and fly.
Now,
that way you're able to chart your own course and continue to fly higher as well. And we wrapped it up with, hey man, flap your wings. Get out here and fly, man. It's that simple. It's that simple.
You can do it.
Before we go, Carol, you want to give us a few words?
I think first of all, we just want to thank our audience that has been listening to us for these last 4 podcasts. We definitely appreciate you taking the time to tune in. We appreciate the feedback that we've gotten, and please continue to give us feedback. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and on SoundCloud so that you'll know when there's a new podcast. There will be no more podcasts this year. So we'll go ahead and wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year for the rest of this year. And we definitely want to know what it is that you want to see in 2017. What I will say is this, and this has nothing to do with fly. People want you to believe that life and success is actually harder than what it is. And it is really more simple than you think. So when people listen to this podcast, some people want to hear this complex plan that it seems like, oh my gosh, if these guys went on here, they wouldn't have put together this elaborate plan for me to reach success. Success is a lot easier than you think. And people want to know, hey, what qualifies you guys to come on here and tell me what I should do with my life? And that is the problem. We spend too much time waiting for people that have 7 figures in the bank, 8 figures in the bank. And that's what make those people qualified, or we see them on TV or we hear them on the radio. That's not what success is. And what we're inviting you to do is, hey, look, I don't have 7 figures in the bank, but I'm trying to get you all to come on a journey with Fledgeology. We're trying to grow together. We're trying to all reach. This is a movement, and we're trying to get everybody, as many people as possible, to subscribe and to follow Fledgeology in the 13th floor so that you too can reach an ultimate level of success. What qualifies me? My grandma told me I could do this. My mama told me I could do this. The universal God gave me this gift, and I'm trying to share it with you. That's what qualifies me to do this. So look, if that's not good enough for you, then you need to go out there and figure out what qualifies you to be who you are and what has that done for you thus far. And if it hasn't done enough for you, continue to listen to this podcast, continue to subscribe to Fledgeology on all of our social media platform, and maybe you'll find something that'll help you get to your best self.
Powerful. I love it. I want to thank all of the listeners. I also want to thank Baby Asher. Y'all caught a little bit of the guy at the end there as Carol started the qualifiers closing, but I definitely want to thank Baby Asher for hanging out on the 13th floor and actually allowing us to do this podcast. See? We're just regular dudes out here taking care of responsibilities, but ultimately living that purpose-driven life to get to our goals and dreams and leap as well. So again, I thank everybody for listening to us. Please subscribe, leave comments, questions, things you want us to get into on the 13th floor. Leave us those comments on our SoundCloud, Facebook pages. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. And that's all I got, man. There it is. Thank you for joining us on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing.
With your life.
Let's go.
Now is the time to fledge.
Asher, you ain't got nothing?
It is.
Nothing, Asher? Come on, Asher.
Asher won't get nothing on the mic.
Oh, you want to play with the mic. There it is, man. Thank y'all for joining us on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing.
Now is your time to fledge.